Time having arrived, I call the meeting to the Committee on Finance to order. And before we start, could you please rise and help us salute our flag? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, councilors and guests, welcome to our FinCom meeting. We have a lengthy agenda, but hopefully we'll go through it as quickly as we possibly can. With that being said, Mr. Clerk, agenda number 1, please.
Item number 1, we have the acceptance of the minutes of the May 2024 Finance Committee meeting.
Accepted and placed on file.
We have the reappointment of Ms. Kelly M. Hanlon of Westfield Drive, Brockton, Mass. to the Brockton Beautification Committee for a 3-year term ending in June 2027.
Mr. Chair, at this time, I'd like to make a motion to amend this and the next 2 appointments because they inadvertently came out of the mayor's office as 3-year appointments, but the ordinance requires simply 1 year. Okay?
So can we do them in 3 spots? Because we can do the first person, and then when it comes, we'll amend that one and amend the other one, so we don't do them all 3 at the same
I
time.
guess so.
But I think Kelly isn't here, right?
He's
Correct.
not here.
So would you like to make a motion first to amend and then to recommend?
Yes, I make a motion to amend this from 3-year appointment to 1-year appointment.
Second.
Motion has been properly made in second. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It passes.
And then I make a motion to recommend Kelly Hanlon's appointment favorably.
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to recommend this appointment favorably. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries. Thank you, ma'am.
Item 3, we have the reappointment of Ms. Linda Piantronio of Brockton, Mass. to the Brockton Beautification Committee for a 3-year term ending in June 2027.
At this time, may I make a motion to amend this from a 3-year appointment to a 1-year appointment?
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to amend the length of the appointment from 3 to 1. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries.
And Ms. Piantronio is here.
Madam, you want to come forward and at least take your 5 seconds of fame, glory, or don't sit next to Pat Hill there because he's got that look. You want to stay away from him. Oh, come on in. Come on up.
Linda, come up. Come up, Linda.
Come up and just say hello at least. Take a seat.
You can sit right there, sit down.
Take the pressure off. Any
Mr.
questions, colleagues?
Mr. Chair, Mrs. Piantonio is an amazing volunteer in the city of Brockton.
Amazing. Yep.
She is so worthy of being reappointed to the Beautification Committee, and she's very modest and shy. And I'm delighted that she has joined us here this evening. Do you want to say anything?
Just thank everybody. Thank you very much.
Motion to recommend favorably?
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to recommend favorably. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries. And thank you much for all that you do for the city, madam.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Number 4, sir.
Item 4, we have the reappointment of Ms. Margaret Peg Carney of Brockton, Mass. to the Brockton Beautification Committee for a 3-year term ending in May 2027.
Councilor
Mr. Chair,
Nacasta.
I make a motion to amend this appointment from 3 years to 1 year.
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to amend from 3 to 1. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries.
And we did receive an email that she
Receive an email
couldn't
that
be here
couldn't
this
make
evening.
it, so-
Yes, so I make a motion to recommend this reappointment favorably.
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to recommend it favorably to the council. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 5.
Item 5, we have the reappointment of Ms. Sharifa K. Mapp of Brockton, Mass. to the Brockton Beautification Committee for a 1-year term ending in May 2025. Invited Ms. Sharifa K. Mapp, and she did send that she couldn't make it this evening either.
Mr. Chair, may I make a motion to recommend this favorably?
Second.
A motion has been properly made in second to recommend this reappointment favorably. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries. Number 6, sir.
Item 6, order that the City Council authorizes the acceptance of a gift from Suffolk Construction of 250-foot sections of scrim with a value of $1,000 to the Department of Public Works. Invited DPW Commissioner Patrick Hill, Chief Financial Officer Troy Clarkson.
Commissioner Hill in the look.
I'll take that as a compliment, I guess.
Yes, sir. I'm jealous.
This was a donation from Suffolk Construction that was put up in the left field fence at Campanelli Stadium. It's 250 feet of scrim, which is basically just like a shielding that goes over the fence.
Councilors, any questions?
Motion to recommend favorable.
Second.
A motion has been properly made and second to accept this donation. All those in favor? All those opposed? It carries. Colleagues, I also want to share with you that our Chief Financial Officer, Troy Clarkson, told us that he couldn't be here tonight due to a prior engagement. Number 7, sir.
Item 7, ordered that the following named sum be and the same is hereby transferred as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Appropriation of $3 million from water revenues, raise and appropriate $3 million to DPW Water, desal fixed charge, $2,100,000. DPW Water Capital, $900,000. Invited DPW Commissioner Patrick Hill, Chief Financial Officer Troy Clarkson.
Mr. Hill.
Councilors, so this was done due to a cut that was that came from the initial budget hearings last year. $2 million was cut out of the desal budget. The total desal budget is $8.9 million. I did put the fixed or the non-fixed fee back into the desal budget, but it wasn't enough to cover it for the year. And then the $900,000 will be to buy capital equipment, basically, for the water department. I haven't had any capital budget to deal with for the past, this will be my 5th year, and we're in dire need of some new vehicles and some new equipment.
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
On the motion, Council Fellow.
Mr. Chairman, I was the one who made the cut, or recommended cut, on the Aquaria appropriation last year. And frankly, I'm not going to support this as a favorable recommendation tonight, and I'll tell you why. A couple of years ago, I believe we notified Aquaria that we thought that they were in breach of their contract with us. I do not know what the resolution of that was. I really would like to have the city solicitor or someone from the law department come in here to discuss this issue, to find out what prompted that notification and whether we favorably resolved it. The other thing is, I think where we have a contractual agreement with this group for such a large amount of money, I'd like them to come in and tell us, do they consider themselves to be in compliance? Have they updated any equipment? Have they done what all of the requisite requirements are for investments in the plant? And frankly, I don't know that. I don't know the last time that they were able to pump the required number of gallons per day on a sustained basis and how the equipment reacted. And this was a defective contract from the beginning. It was improved somewhat when you were mayor, Mr. Chairman, but there's just so many unanswered questions. And the basic one for me is, why did we send them notice that they were in default, and what was the resolution to that? So I'm just one vote, but I just want my colleagues to know that I will not vote favorably on this. If there were a way of dividing the question and having the $900,000 go to DPW Water Capital, I would certainly support that. But I'm not going to support the $2.1 million until I have further information.
I agree with you, Councilor, and I think I would support your amending this motion to basically take care of the 900 and then leave that aside if you're willing to do that.
Right, then I'm going to move to divide the question under Robert's rules into two parts.
You have a motion on the floor, so you need to...
Oh, could you rescind your motion, or you want us to go?
I will not rescind it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
I want the
Well,
motion
then
to go on.
Huh? A motion has been properly made in second to recommend this favorably. All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? It fails. Now we can go through the next.
All right, so I'm going to move to divide the question and to vote simply on the $900,000 for DPW water capital.
Second.
A motion has been made in second to amend this order to go so from $3 million just to $900,000. All those in favor of that amendment?
Well, just,
I just want to make sure, so your motion is to cut the appropriation and to only apply to the DPW water capital. So your motion is to cut the appropriation.
I was hoping to divide it and then postpone the 2.1 million. Mr. Clerk.
can we postpone with one motion?
The only problem with that is the appropriation is for $3 million. So you'd still be appropriating the $3 million.
Well, then that's fine. I'll move to amend to simply 900,000, and the mayor can put in the 2.1 million at another time.
Okay.
You still?
Yeah,
still have a
just
second?
on the motion.
On the motion.
Good evening, Mr. Commissioner. So I know this is the way that we're making this transfer is a little bit different than, we have in the past. This is asking for an order raise and appropriate the $3 million. Could you talk about, reading from what Troy provided to us, that essentially the $3 million is from retained earnings, that our water, the fees or whatever we're charging for water has come in over the proposed budgeted amount.
So the revenues that were initially projected versus the revenues that we anticipate collecting are different, right? So I think the revenues were at $20.5 million in the budget, and we anticipate over $23 million this year.
And so I guess it said that we're at 105% of the projections for this year. So that's given us an ability to transfer those funds from retained earnings into your operating budget?
So the revenues collected in this year, I guess they wouldn't necessarily be called retained earnings, right? Because retained earnings would be from the prior fiscal year, whatever was left over in the budget. Because the projections are over, we're just basically raising the projections in the FY24 budget to match what we've seen in the collections.
And if at some point the council does not appropriate the $2.1 million for the desal fixed charge, what happens in your understanding?
I mean, I guess in essence, we would be in default of a contract. I mean, I could speak a little bit as to what the default was, if you'd like. I can tell you that we had requested water from Aquaria. At the time, it was 2 million gallons per day. They were having issues with the membrane filtration there. The membranes were taking on too much pressure because they were old. They were due to be replaced 3 or 4 years prior. They could not withstand the pressure, so instead of sending us the 2 million gallons that we requested, they could only send us 1 million gallons. There was, if you guys remember correctly, there were a couple of times they actually had to shut the plant down. Since that time, all of the membranes have been replaced, and I have not asked for the entire contractual amount of $3.8 million, but I'm pretty confident that they could send it to us.
Do you know, when was your request made for the 2 million gallons?
I don't have those dates in front of me, Counselor. I think it was a couple of years ago, so it wasn't last summer. It might have been the summer before. There was a pretty substantial delay in getting the membranes themselves. They were, with COVID and all the other stuff, they were on back order for almost a year, so.
So it's your understanding that the proper repairs were made that will now allow for them to meet their contractual obligation?
They couldn't even send us 2 million gallons at the time. When the membranes were replaced, we did take 3 million gallons for a couple of days just to kind of make sure that the system was up to speed. We did take water from Aquaria this year from November all the way through February, 2 million gallons a day, 1.5 million, 2 million gallons a day, and we had no issues.
And when is the fixed charge due? When do we have to make that payment on the desal?
It's a monthly payment.
All right, so you need that 2.1 to make June's payment?
I would need that 2.1 to make, that would be April, May, and June.
So they're retroactive payments?
Correct.
All right, understood. That's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Fowle?
If no one else wants to speak, colleagues, it's a little more complicated for me than that. The permit that Aquaria has to withdraw water from the Taunton River, they're limited in what they can withdraw during certain tidal times and certain times of the year. Has that changed? Have there been any federal regulation changes? Have there been any Department of Environmental Protection changes? Have they inspected the pipeline from Dayton all the way up here to Brockton? Has that been done? When was it done? What were the results? Were there any defects found? The brine that's discharged into the Taunton River as a result of making the reverse osmosis process and water, that has to be at a certain pH. Have we tested that? When did we last test it? I don't want to throw money out without knowing that that plant is operating precisely the way it's supposed to operate under federal and state regulations using our money. And frankly, if they got a bit ornery about this, I'd love to have them take us to court, because that would open up a whole opportunity for us to have discovery and to demand records from them as to why they think they should be paid. And this is not a political issue anymore. I mean, we're well established into having a contractual obligation. I just want to make sure I know what we're paying for. It's just that simple. No animosity towards Aquaria, but just a little bit of suspicion that let's find out that everything is as it should be. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, councilors. So we have a motion on Councilor
On the
Minichiello.
motion,
On the motion.
a question for the superintendent. With regard to the failure to be able to provide the 2 million gallons, do you remember if there was any accommodation or notification by the city of the inability to perform, and whether or not there was any credit and/or accommodation to the city for that
There was some
inability?
there was some correspondence that went back and forth with the law office to ANEMA. If I do remember correctly, we were given a credit for a certain portion of days until those membranes were replaced. What that amount was, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, and where that stands to date, I don't know.
Okay. So is there anyone that can verify whether the $2.1 million that is being requested is in fact for $2.1 million worth of services that the city has in fact incurred and/or used, or could it be that there are still items outstanding where an accommodation perhaps should be made to the city before that sum is forwarded to Aquaria for payment?
I mean, what I can tell you for sure is that that $2.1 million is to fulfill the remaining contractual obligation for this fiscal year. And like I said, it's for April, May, and June. And it's $720,000 a month. That's our contractual obligation per month to ANEMA.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor. Anyone else? I just have a quick one for you. When was the last time that you had any conversations with, I'm not talking about the folks at the plant, but Aquaria itself, like the leadership of Aquaria? Have you had any conversations at all with them?
So the last time that I spoke with the gentleman from Aquaria was, I want to say sometime last winter maybe, when they came in just to let us know that the membranes had been replaced and that they were confident that they could supply us with a contractual amount of water.
But these are the managers, not necessarily the people at the plant.
The managers, yep.
Okay. All right. Colleagues, A motion has been made to amend the $3 million order to $900,000. All those in favor of it? Anyone opposed? It carries. Thank you, sir. Number 8, sir.
Item 8, ordered that the following name sum be and the same is hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $1,606,805 from sewer retained earnings, $778,059. From sewer personal services non-overtime, $141,146. From goods and supplies, $383,000. From debt service, $154,600. From treatment R&M per K, $150,000. To sewer purchase of services, $1,606,805. Invited DPW Commissioner Patrick Hill, Chief Financial Officer Troy Clarkson.
Mr. Commissioner.
Councilors, so this is an attempt to close out the fiscal '24 year. What I did is I went through my budget, each and every line item with my business manager, and we determined what the final number for the year would be to pay off all of our contractual obligations. We took money from each and every line item, put it into a lump, took the retained earnings to the tune of $1,606,000, which we're pretty confident that should balance out the entirety of fiscal '24.
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second.
Motion has been properly made. Any questions, councilors, on this? Has been properly made and second. All those in favor? All those opposed? It carries.
Actually, before we get to number 9, my mistake. On number 7, we voted on the amendment, but we didn't vote on final passage, so we voted to approve the amendment, but now we need a vote to approve
Motion to recommend item number 7 favorably,
as amended.
as amended.
Motion has been properly made and second. All those in favor of its passage? All recommendation? All those opposed? It carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Item 9, ordered that the following name sum be and the same is hereby transferred, as the same was submitted by the mayor as follows. Transfer of $400,000 from refuse retained earnings, $400,000, to DPW refuse purchase of service. Invited DPW Commissioner Patrick Hill, Chief Financial Officer Troy Clarkson.
Mr. Commissioner Hill.
Councilors, so this is just a transfer from retained earnings to balance off the rest of fiscal '24. Our new rate increases will not be effective until July 1st, so we won't see anything from those until next fiscal year.
Motion to recommend favorably.
Second?
On the motion?
On the motion, Councilor Thompson.
After this $400,000 transfer, do you know what the balance of the current retained earnings are in the sewer budget? Oh, the refuse budget, excuse me.
I believe this is the balance of the refuse retained earnings.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
A motion has been properly made and second to recommend this item favorably. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries. Number 10.
Item 10, ordered that pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 14, and the City of Brockton's Ordinance 2-157, the City of Brockton hereby accepts the lease agreement entered into U.S. Bank Equipment Finance. Said lease agreement for a 3-year term, July 2024 through June 2027. The mayor is authorized to execute any and all documents necessary in connection with said lease agreement. Invited, Acting Superintendent Dr. James Cobb or his designee, Chief Financial Officer Troy Clarkson. And Mr. President, we did receive a call late in the afternoon that the interim business manager at the school department is still putting some information together. She requested if this could be postponed.
Councilor Minicello.
Seeing that no one's here to be able to speak on this matter, I move that we postpone this to the next Finance Subcommittee meeting.
Second?
And councilors, just so that we know, we're now entering our summer sessions, so this item will probably not be heard until July.
3rd week of July.
A motion has been properly and second to postpone this item. All those in favor? Anyone opposed? It carries. Number 11.
11, resolve, whereas fiscal year 2025 budget review meetings will occur within several weeks, and whereas the fiscal year 2025 city appropriation for the operation of the school department will likely be in excess of $230 million, with financial issues carrying over from fiscal year 2024. Now therefore be it resolved, Chief Financial Officer Troy Clarkson and Mr. T.J. Plant from the Open Architects Group be invited to a meeting of the City Council to provide information and commentary on the status of the fiscal year 2024 school budget and financial projections for the fiscal year 2025 school appropriations and budget requirements. Invited Chief Financial Officer Troy Clarkson, Mr. T.J. Plant from the Open Architects Group. As you know, Mr. Clarkson couldn't be here, and I received no communication from Mr. Plant. But he's not here, I don't think.
No, he's not.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Farwell?
Mr. Chairman, I'm eventually going to ask that this be postponed, but I do want to offer some comments on it this evening because we are preparing for budget hearings next week. Since last August, this city really has been in financial paralysis because of deficits in the school department budget. We've had the governor involved, we've had the lieutenant governor involved, we've had the Secretary of Administration and Finance involved, we've had the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, and this council itself has spent hour after hour and day after day analyzing the schools, the needs of the schools, what happened, how it happened. We have an investigation ongoing that is being quarterbacked by the law department, and hopefully that report will come out. But I do want to share some information with all of you, if nothing else, to get the appetite for a very careful review of school spending when that budget comes in. And this was provided to us by the Chief Financial Officer through his office. And I'm just going to highlight a few of these things because I think they're so important for us and for the public to know. The first category is other salaries in the FY24 school budget. As of June 7th, 2024, we are at 93.72% of the fiscal year, and that's just a percentage of how many months and how many weeks have passed since last July 1st. For other salaries in the school department, they are at 153.06%. That category is $831,784.18 in deficit. The next I go to is part-time salaries. That is at 111.96% of what was budgeted, $71,278.53 in deficit. The next one I would go to is bus drivers. From what was budgeted to what we have expended, we are at 312.77%. That category is $4,437,743.95 in deficit. The next I go to is unemployment insurance, which is very interesting because when people were laid off and we are liable for unemployment, we obviously know who they are. We obviously know how much money they make, so you should be able to extrapolate from there and figure out approximately how much we're going to owe in unemployment insurance. So what was budgeted was $800,000. We are at 154.64%. That category of school spending is $437,121.58 in deficit. The next I would go to is, and I don't understand this, the category is athletics. The subcategory is athletic teacher, and we are at 118.93% of the appropriation. That particular item is $29,235 in deficit. Custodians, custodial overtime system-wide, $1 million was budgeted. We are at 106.97%. That category is $69,688.35 in deficit. And finally, in guidance, which I don't quite understand, for department head of guidance, which is the category, We are at 137.77% of the appropriation. That is $74,105.78 in deficit. Now, someone is going to say, don't worry about that win, because the school department, from what I understand, may finish with a $2 million surplus this year. So we've gone from $18 million in deficit, where we had to move money around, to what apparently is going to be a $2 million surplus, which is very, very interesting, because we have people saying, oh, woe is me, we don't have enough money for the schools, we need more money, you've got to go back and change the entire city budget and give us $5 or $6 million more. I'm not quite sure that's accurate, given the fact that we're going to have a $2 million surplus. But I guess what bothers me most is that, to the extent that you overspend these different categories, you reduce the surplus that you might have at the end of the year, which affects your free cash. And we do depend upon free cash to carry over to the next fiscal year and help us through the ups and downs of municipal financing. So why am I getting into this tonight without the benefit of Mr. Claxon and Mr. Plant? Because, folks, the buck stops on our desk. When that school budget comes in here, we've got to go over that so carefully, and we've got to make sure that we do not overspend categories next year. We may have dodged the proverbial bullet for fiscal year '25. We may have a balanced municipal budget, including a school budget, for fiscal year '25. But if we don't position ourselves by the end of fiscal year '25, then I think the city could be in very, very serious financial difficulty, unless there was a sudden infusion of additional state aid, either Chapter 70 education aid or unrestricted general government aid. So I'm raising the cautionary flag. I'm saying we really have a lot of work to do. These figures tell it all. When a municipality has a financial problem, it takes a team effort to get out of it. And that team is obviously the mayor, the city council, the chief financial officer, the support staff, and clearly, because the issue has been caused by the school department, you've got to have a team effort. And so I hope that we will see some transformative decisions made by the school committee and the school department to contain costs, to maybe combine positions, to look at school busing, how to save money, combine routes, take a look at contracts. I would hope that as the people who occupy significantly high salaried positions in the school department retire or perhaps leave, that there will be a lower salary scale, more in line with what we pay people here in the municipal side. I mean, we're all one city, so we should have some comparable salaries on the city side and the school side. When someone makes $100,000 more a year to do human resources on the school side than our human resources director, to me, something is fundamentally wrong. So as I always say, thank you for allowing me the privilege of being here and offering these comments. I ask you as a team, because we all have differences of opinion, but as a team, we have got to make sure we get city finances, which are school finances, in line. We cannot afford to go another fiscal year as we've just gone through this past year, beginning last August when we found out about the deficit. So I thank you, and I don't know if anyone has any questions or comments, but if not, I'll make a motion to postpone.
Second.
Motion has been properly made and second. All those in favor of postponing this item? All those opposed? It carries. But before we go on, we are 1 week away from budget hearings, which is next Monday, and we have not yet received the school budget at least on the city side for us to look at it. So just keep that in mind, that this is something that I intend to pursue within the next 2 days, because if it gets too close to budget hearings, we've got way too much stuff to do for our budget hearings to be able to dig into the school budget. So just so that you know, we have not received it yet.
Well, just as a point of personal privilege, let me apologize to any of you who might have been offended by the message that I sent to those of you on a distribution list where I mentioned this is my 39th year in public service. And I was so offended that the school department, the school committee would invite us to go visit schools so that we'd have an understanding of the school budget. We've devoted 10 months of our lives to that school budget, and I respectfully, they wanted us to have a real-world experience. I think some people need a real-world experience in the fact that you can't overspend, that you can't negatively affect property values and compromise public safety by overspending in one department, which has to be made up by another department. So if anyone was offended, I publicly apologize, but I do stand by my comment that we've been immersed in this for a long time, folks. I think we know the value of money in education and in public safety, fire, police, DPW, and I just found that suggestion that we need real-world experience very demeaning, very offensive, and that's why I spoke out on it. And again, I thank you for the point of personal privilege.
Thank you, Councillor. Number 12, sir.
Did we vote on the
Yeah,
postpone?
voted.
Yeah, we did. We did.
Yeah, we voted to postpone it.
Okay, postpone. Item 12, resolve, whereas Signature Healthcare, Brockton Hospital provides a critical link between medical care for city residents and those in other communities. And whereas it's important to receive an update on the progress towards reopening of the hospital, especially given the financial challenges reported by Stewart Health Group. Now therefore, be it resolved that Fire Chief Brian Nardelli and other staff whom he may designate, a representative from the Administrator's Office of Signature Healthcare, Brockton Hospital, and Building Commissioner James Plouffe appear at a meeting of the City Council to discuss progress and issues pertaining to restoration of full hospital services. Invited Fire Chief Brian Nardelli, Building Commissioner James Plouffe, representative from the Administrator's Office of Signature Healthcare. We did receive communication that they could not send a ranking member tonight, and they did ask that when this is done, this be postponed, so they would like to come in and speak to the council when they can.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Folks, Fire Chief?
Good evening, Mr. Chair. Good evening, councilors. Tonight, obviously, Superintendent Plouffe, as well as Deputy Chief Williams, and Deputy Commissioner Forte are here alongside me. This has been a challenging 16 months, to say the least, in regards to their duties and what they've had to do to work and get this hospital back online. Before I turn it over, I'll let Deputy Chief Williams speak on behalf of the permitting process and along with Commissioner Plouffe about what is going on, what the outlook looks like. I think to just put some of this in context, I think is important, because on February 7, 2023, we lost a hospital in the city of Brockton. A hospital that serviced over 40 communities, not just here, just not the city. Why that is important is because if you look at the bigger picture, people go to the hospital, they want whatever care they're going to get, and they want top-notch care, and they go to the emergency room, and they have tests scheduled. That affects the community as a whole. On the emergency services side, that is an entirely different animal. The reason I say this, and just to put a little of this in context and what we've been operating under the last 16 months, it's important for you all to understand that in the past 10 years, 5 hospitals, community hospitals, just like Brockton Hospital, south of Boston have closed. If you look at the big picture, you look at Quincy Hospital, closed about 10 years ago. Southwood Hospital in Norfolk. Norwood Hospital had the flood. Now the Brockton Hospital, but prior to that, even Pawtucket Memorial. People can ask, well, what does Pawtucket Memorial and the Quincy and all of this have to do with anything? What this causes is a compounding effect in emergency services. In stating that, I'll take Pawtucket Memorial, probably the one I've thought of the least in this whole thing, because it's the furthest from us. Now you have ambulances coming from North Attleboro, Berkeley's, places like that might have transported emergency medical patients to that hospital before. They're now coming here to Good Samaritan on a regular basis. Think about that now with the towns of Whitman, West Bridgewater, Easton, Avon, Holbrook, all the people that touch us. Think of Norwood Hospital being out, Sharon ambulances, Norwood ambulances, Walpole ambulances coming to Good Samaritan Medical Center. Why this creates a problem is because the staffing at Good Sam, we all know what's going on with the Stewart facilities. This problem has compounded because now Stoughton brings a patient into Good Sam. We have 8 ambulances dedicated to the city of Brockton. We go over that on a regular basis just because of our call volume. Now we have to call mutual aid potentially because Brewster might not be able to provide an ambulance to us. What happens now is Stoughton has to send their second ambulance to us. Now they don't have an ambulance in the town, so it's costing them money. Then they have to call mutual aid from, say, Sharon to come in to cover a call for them. So this compounds and explodes out more and more and more. And I know I've spoken to some of you about this. The operational hazards that this has brought on, I think really this probably started late fall into the early winter where we had 2-hour wait times at times at Good Samaritan with the ambulance patients still on those ambulance cots. This wasn't the person's waiting to be seen by a doctor on a hospital bed for 2 hours. They're waiting in that ambulance. So before I have these gentlemen speak about the progress, I think it's important to understand this hospital can't come online fast enough with what we've had in the last 16 months. We were potentially at a medical breaking point in emergency medical services. So I think it's to put that all into context so you understand the bigger picture and what this happens. I think we met on this on a regular basis amongst the chiefs associations as well as the MS coordinators from each community. I think everyone did an incredible job in this last 16 months to try to get us to this point. And we're not over the finish line yet. Brockton Hospital still isn't open. So, but I think as we talk about all that's going on with the Brockton tonight, I think it's important to keep that in the back of your mind, what this one hospital, along with those other 4, has created in the last 10 years, but especially in the last 16 months. So I'll have Deputy Chief Williams sit down and he can talk to you with Commissioner Plouffe about where the progress is with the Brockton. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, councilors, I'm going to yield to my deputy who's been doing the inspections over there for a little while, but I just want to make a couple statements about the hospital. And just, we talk about personal privilege. I'm going to ask that because this past weekend, my parents celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. And I'm going through all my pictures and all their pictures from way back when. And I actually found a picture of my grandfather, Joseph Plouffe, who the school is named after, with his hard hat on, digging out the last edition they did at the Brockton Hospital. He was on the board. So I know that hospital has gone through a lot of years and a lot of wear and tear and a lot of renovations over the years. Now, one thing about old buildings is they're like onions, and I take that from my my shop supervisor, Jim Burgess. He says, peeling back an onion is the worst thing to do, because every time you pull it back, you don't know what you're going to find underneath it. And that's what's happening at the Brockton Hospital right now. Is every time they pull something back due to this fire, they find a little bit more. They pull that back, and they find a little bit more. And it's something that they have to address throughout the entire building. For example, hospitals are required to be of a certain construction type, steel, concrete. We open up the building, you find out that the cafeteria is made of wood. And there's a bunch of floors that are made of wood. So there's things that they have to address that they didn't necessarily need to before this fire occurred. And when they opened up these onion peels, they found these other things that they had to address. And that's delaying the hospital significantly, unfortunately. So I'm going to yield myself to Deputy, if that's okay, Mr. Chair.
Perfectly fine.
Thank you.
We're here to find out exactly how far away from turning those keys. Councilor Thompson.
Yes. Mr. Chair, good evening. I'll let Deputy Chief Williams take the lead.
Good afternoon, councilors. I made some notes today just so I would remember what to say. It's been 489 days, and most of you know I'm counting days now, so you'll understand. The day of the fire, I estimated 2 years, and they're probably going to beat me and not take that 2 years. I spend an average of 6 to 8 hours a week working on this project. We have a fire detail there 6 days a week for 8 hours so that the construction site and the limited care hospital with the day surgery and wound care can stay in operation. There's a delicate balance in between that you have to keep. It's a constantly evolving situation. Every week there's something else going on. They've done something that caused something. It'll probably be a 9-figure loss by the time we get through here. Working on buildings that are 100-plus years old take a lot of planning, several generations of building styles. If you think about it, the newest part of the building's 40 to 50 years old, so it's really not new. I don't think there's one part of the hospital that hasn't been touched by this reconstruction. Everything's been taken apart and being put back together. When we're done, we'll have a new fire alarm system throughout the building. We'll have a new fire command area. The building was not completely sprinkled at the time of the fire. It will be when we're done. We have a new bi-directional amplifier system going in. That's emergency radio communications for fire and police. There's new upgraded electrical throughout. It basically had a small amount of power going in. It was an antiquated system. It was 120 volts going in, as an example. They decided that wasn't enough to run all the new equipment that they had, so now they're bringing in 240, 480. But by doing that, they've had to make electric rooms on all the floors and in all the areas with step-down transformers, so it goes in at a high rate and then gets stepped down to the power that they need in that area. There'll be a new lobby, there'll be a new kitchen with all new equipment. Because of the construction and the improvements, other codes kick in that require the property to be upgraded and be code compliant to today's standards. The fire department is concerned with mostly fire suppression, fire detection, passive fire devices like fire doors and fireproofing the steel, egresses, occupant safety. There's other standards beside the building code and the fire code that they have to pay attention to. They have the J-Code, the Joint Commission of Accreditation on Healthcare Organizations. They have standards well above the building and fire code. And a new one got thrown at me the other day, the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. They have their own rules and standards. Then the Mass DPH has their standards that have to be done. A lot of parts have to go together. A lot of things have to go to meet at the right time. So last Friday, we had a pre-opening meeting. Bill was there with me. There was 24, 30 people in the room. It was quite crowded. And the purpose was to make sure that we're all on the same page and that there's no surprises when they want to open. We get everything done. They know what our expectations are, and we know what their expectations are. Remember, every action has a reaction. Recently, they tested all the wall heaters in the A building, which was the 5-story building, and there was a high failure rate. So now all those heaters have to be replaced, and they're being worked on now. They're also part of the air conditioning system in those rooms. So the hospital is planning a tiered opening. Phase 1 will be the A building, the 5-story building, the main support building, which is where the ER is located, the OR, which is upstairs from the ER, the ICU and the CCU, which is in the same area. I said the ER downstairs, I guess. Radiology. And then, at the opposite end of the building, on the Libby Street side, they need to open up a lab and a pharmacy and their IT operations. They can't run the rest of the hospital without these 3 places. So now we'll have people working in this end of the building, a construction site, and people working at the other end of the building. So a lot of planning has to go into place on how to keep the people safe that are going back and forth to these areas as they're walking through construction zones. Phase 2 they're planning will be the BC building, cardiac telemetry, the cath lab, maternity, dialysis, and the case management area. And lastly, phase 3 will be the kitchen and the cafeteria. Right now, if they open phase 1, they plan on working out something with their food provider to truck food in, warm it up there, and serve it to the patients. They asked me not to speculate on dates, and I would just say that we'd probably be over the summer before they'll be opening. But everybody's trying hard. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, a lot of codes. As they open up a wall, they find more things that are going wrong. So I think by fall, we should probably have something open. Questions?
Councilor Farwell.
I sponsored this, Deputy Williams and Chief Nadelli and Mr. Forte and Commissioner Plouffe, because I just want the public to know as much as we can tell them, as accurately as we can tell them, because I know the hospital, I think last April, started running ads about jobs, and it made it appear as though things were coming along much faster than than they really were. And I know that there is still a lot of fear and apprehension for people out there. Even if they don't need the hospital right now, you've got loved ones worrying about, gee, what if my mother has a heart attack, or my father falls off a ladder, or needs help. And so I think it's so important to have professionals come in and tell us as much as you can without promising a date. I would think that the DPH would have to at least initially give them authority to open the different, or have the phased-in approach to opening. I did request some public records from DPH, and they came through for me, and I haven't seen any correspondence yet with a date on it saying, well, we'd like to be open by this date. So when this is done and we postpone and we have someone from the hospital come in, I hope all of you will come in again and give us an update. Just of all the things that go on in this community, healthcare is so important, and we are a regional center for healthcare. There's no doubt about it. As Brockton Hospital goes, you've got Whitman, Abington, ambulances coming in from everywhere, and given Stewart's problems, I think we're in a tough spot right now, hospital-wise. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. We're in a tough spot. So I thank all of you for the work that you're doing. Please keep us informed.
Very good.
Thank
you. Deputy Commissioner, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just to again elaborate on Deputy Chief's comments, we're pretty much inspecting the hospital on a regular basis. There are some, obviously, you've heard that there are some, some code updating concerns that are being addressed. I actually gave them a list of, some of the things that need to be answered and addressed. I'm very confident that they have a lot of high professionals working. They have a third-party consultant working with the designer of record who will be, looking at some of the issues over there and providing solutions for it. I am certainly aware of the critical nature of it. I'm there. I'm available same day when they call for an inspection. So they're moving as fast as they possibly can. It's not a disaster over there. There's just, as Commissioner Plouffe explained, there's a lot of layers there. And when you get into a certain level of construction, you need to comply with a certain level of code. And that's essentially what they're finding. There is also a triple layer of approval there. So they first need approval from the local jurisdiction, fire department and building department and plumbing and gas. Then it moves to the state building inspector level, which the state also has jurisdiction on fire and life safety as well. And then, of course, the Department of Public Health comes in and has the final say in that. And so they do have some aspirations of being able to have a phased opening, sometime late summer. But we'll update you on the progress as we find it. And I would say that things are moving in a very positive direction in the hospital, and I've had very good response and cooperation with any of the questions and concerns that I've had as a building inspector. So,
anyone else? Well, just to echo Councilor Farwell, I mean, there's some very unstable times for us in this city. None of us want to travel into Boston for health care. I mean, Brockton Hospital has been a staple in this community. I used to work there. I worked there for 12 years, and it's known as the community hospital, the hospital of the community. So it's important for us to do our due diligence to make sure that they're doing the right thing, but at the same time that we put that hospital back online as soon as possible just to ease the stresses that our folks are feeling. Would you care to are you going to make a council?
Just quickly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, gentlemen. As Fire Chief was saying, it's hard to underestimate the impact the closing of Brockton Hospital has had on not just on our city, but on the surrounding community. I'm happy with the professionals saying they feel good progress is being made, and that hopefully not in the too far distant future, Brockton Hospital will be back open to serve the community. It's had a huge impact on the east side of Brockton and in the ward. And I see that they're moving along with some other things. I'm glad to hear that there's going to be improvements. I believe they're doing some upgrades in some of their units. So at the end of this process, it will hopefully be a new and improved Brockton Hospital with additional capacity and capabilities. So that, if there's a silver lining out of any of this, it'll be that there'll be a few more modern upgrades at that facility. One of the things that I'm concerned with and what I'm hearing, and I know none of you gentlemen could really speak to it, but once you close your hospital and all of your staffing goes away, they find other jobs and they find other homes, and so it may not be as easy to restaff that hospital. I know they're doing their best they can, but that could be another delay in this process. Is just not having the personnel to staff that hospital. So we're hoping that they'll be able to overcome, that limitation as well. And when Brockton Hospital comes back online, it'll be new and improved and get back to doing its good work for this community. So I appreciate you guys and all the time and effort that you're putting in to make sure Brockton Hospital comes back online. And, we just hope that it's sooner than later. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Motion to postpone to a future meeting when the chair can arrange for Brockton Hospital personnel to come in.
Second.
A motion has been properly made and second to postpone this possibly to the month of July, because I think it's important for us to kind of figure this stuff out before the summer is out. Has been properly made and second. All those in favor? All those opposed? It carries. Postponed it until the FinCom in July.
That's it.
Are we done? Any personal recognition or? Well, I have just a quick one, and this is just a quick reminder that next week we're going to go into the budget hearings. We will have the public hearings at 5:30 on Monday. I hope everybody got a copy of the schedules that the clerk passed out for you for your appreciation. But we also want to make sure that the community that's going to come in and talk to us about the issues, that they have ample time to talk about it. But because of the hot buttons that we have going on with some of the finances woe in the city, I know there's probably going to be a good interest in a number of people that are going to come in, and that's why, by law, we have to maintain it to a certain time, and therefore the per participation or per participant is going to be down to 2 minutes. So 2 minutes, the folks are going to come in and express whatever they need to express, so that we have the most number of individuals that wanted to do that. So then Monday, public hearings at 5:30, then the regular budget hearings at 6 p.m. We're gonna start off with the mayor and some of the major departments within City Hall. Tuesday, we're going to focus on education. We have Southeastern Regional coming in the morning. In the beginning.
We may move them. They can't make it Tuesday.
They can't make it on Tuesday,
so
we have to probably
Monday
move
night.
them to another day. And then we're going to focus on the white elephant in the room, which is the school department. And I think we need to seriously dive into the school department because, as I've said throughout, anybody that wants to hear, we do not have a money issue in the school department. What we have is a management issue. There's a lack of management in the schools that we've all know and have heard, and we are seriously concerned about this. But with that, I just want to caution everybody that if a question because it's a large budget and a large department as well, and we have, I believe, 13 department heads coming from the schools. We want to hear from them because for some of them, this is the first time that they're coming in front of the City Council to talk about budgets. They have never dealt with budgets before because everything went through the Finance Department. So they actually have an opportunity to come in and see that this city is taking this stuff seriously, and that they need to be aware that they're personally accountable to managing their budget. So that's why it's important for us to do that. But at the same time, I caution all of us to make sure we stay focused. You know, if a question has been asked, let's not ask the same question. Let's not sit here, and I think I wrote it here, let's not pontificate as much as some of us would like to do that. I'm one of them, you know, but let's try to kind of bring that down a little bit. You know, this isn't, again, a campaign. Nobody's campaigning for anything. Let's just stay focused because it's important for us to do that for the folks in our community. Our city needs this, and it's important for us to do that. And then we're going to close it out because Wednesday is a holiday. We're going to close it out on Thursday. Again, it's a long budget for Thursday as well, but I just want to make sure that I remind everybody that if we somehow don't get it done on Thursday, we are looking at pushing it into the following week. And pushing it into the following week, Monday we cannot because it's a regular council meeting. We cannot have a FinCom when we have a regular council meeting, so that therefore we would have to schedule a special FinCom,
yes.
and then we have to schedule a special city council meeting to accept the budget. Now think about this. Glitches happen. We had the problem with the lights not too long ago. What happens if we have that kind of a failure in this building that we can't meet? We are running the risk of not having the city's budget voted on and shared with the state when we're supposed to. So that's why I want to just appeal to all of us to make sure that on Thursday, no matter how long it is, we're going to try to get the budget and the cuts put in on Thursday so that we can come in on the following week and vote on the budget and present it to the state.
We can do
as
the
we're
cuts
supposed
on
to.
Monday evening at council.
That's true. We can do the cut. If we have to do the cuts, we can do it prior to during the meeting, but prior to the final votage.
Correct.
Prior to us voting on the budget. So just kind of keep that in mind, because this is going to depend on us. The longer we drag this, the longer it's going to become. You know, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same. Council Texeira, did you want to say something?
You said Thursday, then we'll come back on Monday. What about
Monday night we have,
Friday is almost an impossibility to get any, because we have to post it. And if we have to post it, if we didn't finish it, then we're definitely pushing into the following week. And that's why it's important for us to get it done on Thursday, because if we don't get it done on Thursday, a department doesn't get done on Thursday, we can't say, well, come back on Friday, because then we're violating the law, because we have to post things ahead of time before we have those discussions.
6 o'clock start every day,
6 o'clock
except
every
for
day.
Monday, 5:30.
Well, Monday, we have 5:30, and then we'll pause and start the budget, the regular budget hearings.
correct, 6 o'clock. Each night.
Anything else? Are we all on the same page?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, if I may, in terms of the public hearing, would that be just half an hour?
Correct.
So the public, well, obviously, let me just look at shit in the camera. So the city of Brockton will have half an hour to come and ask question about this budget.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Cole.
Counselor, if there are more people,
Okay.
they'll be given an opportunity to speak.
Okay.
We've never had it more than, the half an hour has always been enough.
Okay.
Even in some of the most contentious years, it's always been enough. If they are here before 6 o'clock and are signed in, they'll still have an opportunity to speak.
And I also believe that each resident only has 2 minutes.
Yes.
So technically, let's see if we can do the math. Half an hour, that would be like 15 people. So if needs be, we can add on it.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr.
Correct.
Chairman.
As long as we don't go beyond the 6 o'clock, I think we're here to accommodate the taxpayers and the residents of the city. So we'll do what we can, but we can't turn this thing into a chaotic meeting that nothing gets done. And remember, we're not supposed to sit here and engage in debate. It's called a public meeting.
Comment period.
For the folks to come in, and it doesn't matter how aggravating their comments are, we're supposed to take it and move on, but we're not supposed to have a back and forth with them as well.
Just a reminder, if you talk to any members of the public who want to speak, it's only on the budget. It's not on other issues.
Correct.
They can talk to you, but when they come in to speak, the only item in front of you that night is the budget. So the public hearing is they can only comment on the budget.
Yeah, so we wanted to make sure we're clear about this, so that when Monday shows up, that we're not here talking about, you know, lights and potholes and this and that. It has to do with the budget. We'll discuss the budget, and that's the end of it. If they have other things that they want to discuss, then they're free to call any of us to go on beyond that.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I'm pretty confident, you know, with the recent situation that our city has been dealing with in regard to the school deficit. I believe that our resident will be very interesting in terms of coming to City Hall and acknowledge, if not voice their opinion. And I have faith in each and every single one of them, whereby there will not be any chaotic at City Hall. That I can vouch for, because I know that our resident not only believe in what we are doing here, but also they have the ability to understand that it is their tax money, and they have a solemn obligation to making sure that that money, each penny, each dollar, is being spent accordingly. So I look forward to hearing and seeing who's coming here. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I hope so. I hope they do come and and share their thoughts with us. Councilor Farwell, did you want to say
Yeah,
something?
just, I think I say this every year, but the public should understand, we cannot add to an appropriation. I think sometimes people think that we can say, you know, we agree with you and we should put more money into whatever it is. It's very, very important to realize our role here. We can approve it as submitted, or we could reduce it, but we can't add to whatever the mayor puts before us. And I think some people, because they don't follow government, it's not their fault, they don't understand that. We're not like the Congress or the legislature, we can appropriate things. So.
I think this is a very important information to share with the folks, because we hear that all the time. And I think it's important for us to be as clear as we possibly can with our community so that they understand what's up. And if you have any questions, please call the clerk.
Call the clerk's office.
He's available 8:30 to 4:30, Monday through Friday, here in City Hall, or his number is public. It's posted
Absolutely.
everywhere in this building, so please call him with any questions and concerns that you might have. You can even call him at 4:35. I was going to say call him at 6, but 4:35.
I'll probably be busy talking to one of the councilors at 6, so.
Anything else? Having no further business for the residents and the citizens of Brockton, meeting adjourned.
So